From Racine, Wisconsin, what becomes the hardest job in the country with realignment? Does Auburn keep 3 permanent games with Bama, Georgia, and LSU, or does someone else get a worse draw, or does that even matter? Yes, it matters. And the hardest job in college football, I've said for a while, is Auburn. And I've given you the reasons. It's harder to win at Miami of Ohio than Auburn. However, at the same time, the expectations aren't nearly as high at Miami of Ohio as they are at Auburn. At Auburn, to be clear, I think we just talked about this like 20 minutes ago. At Auburn, to be clear, the expectation is the donor class gives a lot of money. The fans sell the stadium out. They are every bit as passionate as their rivals within the conference. They're every bit as invested. They expect the same return on the investment, which is totally fair. The difference is the challenge at Auburn has been disproportionately harder, as we have spelled out, and as was spelled out in the question, even in the future. We're looking at a reformatting of the SEC schedule. It looks like Auburn may have to play Bama, LSU, and Georgia every year. No one else is going to have that draw. So when you balance the challenge of schedule with expectation level, I don't know that anyone has it harder than the head coach at Auburn. Now, that happens to be Hugh Freeze right now. Once upon a time, that was Gus Malzahn. And I tell you, I don't think we can tell this story enough. How crazy it is being around the Auburn program. Every Auburn fan knows this to be true. You can love that program, but you also got to admit, you tell the story of Auburn football to someone who's agnostic, who may just be a soccer fan, and they know nothing about college football. Just tell the story of the 2017 season. Just the one season. And they would have their mind blown. How well do you remember that? The 2017 season. So it starts, and Auburn's pretty highly ranked, I think. And it didn't start off so well. So Malzahn, by the time they went and played a game at LSU, Malzahn's on the hot seat, and it's being called a do-or-die game. And he lost the game. It was like a late decision, but he lost the game. I was there. And I went in the post-game press conference. I've told this story before. I go in the post-game media room for Auburn, and the media beat guys are already in there. Christy Malzahn, Gus Malzahn's wife, is in there. And I'll never forget, she's leaned up against the wall. And I will never forget, I just talked to her about this this year. I saw her on the road. I talked about this exact thing. And trust me, she remembered every detail. She's leaned up against the wall over there. And the guys in the room are just openly speculating who the next coach at Auburn is going to be. He hasn't been fired. They're already assuming, okay, Malzahn's out. And like, yeah, his wife's standing over there, but who cares? We're just going to disrespectfully talk about this within earshot of her anyway. You know, because he gets paid a lot of money, so feelings don't matter. Well, Malzahn didn't get fired. Then he ends up beating number 1 Georgia. Then 2 weeks later, he beats number 1 Alabama. This is not even the year where you had the prayer in Jordan Hare and the kick 6. This is another year that they pulled that off. This is another year Malzahn found a way to beat both of them. So Malzahn beats Georgia, number 1 at the time. Beats Bama, number 1 at the time. It's the first time anyone's ever done that. They go to the SEC championship game. The week leading up to the championship game, there's 6 days between the Iron Bowl and the SEC championship game. Malzahn and his agent, Jimmy Sexton, and mostly Jimmy Sexton, pushes Auburn up against the wall and says, new contract right now. And Auburn did it. They had no other choice. Because at that time, for anyone who says that was a bad decision, at that time, Tennessee was up in flames. That was when they were trying to hire a new head coach. They had fired Butch Jones, and it was just a disaster. So Auburn, on one hand, they're watching their guy, who was on the hot seat once upon a time, beat back-to-back number 1 teams, and he's going to the SEC title game. And they're thinking, if we do fire him, who's to say we look any different than Tennessee? And they were right. Like, what coach in their right mind was going to take the Auburn job, seeing that the guy who just beat back-to-back number 1 teams they told wasn't good enough? There's no security in that job. Why would I go there? So anyway, they extend him. That was just 2017, guys. So the Auburn job has been that way for a while, and I think it's going to be that way. It's just crazy because, like, around every corner, there could be anything. You never know what's coming at Auburn.
Guys, thanks for watching Late Kick. Make sure and leave a comment. I love interacting with you. But most of all, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's how we keep all of this free.